Hi, everybody. I'm Carrie Hamblen, the CEO and president of the Las Cruces Green Chamber of Commerce, and we are starting a new series with our pals at Nusenda Credit Union, providing you with helpful financial tips on a number of topics from budgeting and money management to boosting your credit score and what to do with your taxes and so much more. And today we're talking with Amanda Reyes, who is the Director of Financial Capability for Nusenda Credit Union. Hey there, Amanda. It is great to meet you and see you, and thank you so much for joining us for this.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to share some tips and to share some strategies and resources with your community.
Well, I have to say, budgeting and money management, those are things that not a lot of folks feel either comfortable with, myself included, or really learn anything about it and how important it is. So, what are some of the basics of managing your money and developing a budget? What's the purpose of a budget?
So those are great questions. And so I would say there are multiple steps, but to break it down, you really need to have a goal, make a plan, and then revisit that plan. That's the best way in which you can be successful. And when we think about a budget is really just your personal way of managing your finances or even your business finances. So to dig into that a little bit deeper, we start with that write a goal component. I always say, make a goal, but you have to write it down, because if you don't write it down, it's just really a wish. Your goals should be clear, and you should know when you have achieved this goal that you've set. So for example, I use SMART goals. They're very common in education and business. They're really easy to write, even though they sound a little bit complicated. SMART is an acronym. It just means specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And to just give a really specific example, imagine that you have $3,000 in credit card debt and you want to pay that credit card debt down. Your SMART goal could be something like, by July 2023, I will have paid off $3,000 in credit card debt. It gives you some very specific information. It is realistic because you can make a plan with a budget tool in order to meet that goal. So that's the first step. Write a goal. Step number 2 is to make that plan. And the plan that you would make is called a budget. Now, you already know your goal, right? You focused on your goal for, say, credit cards. Now you want to budget every single dollar, and you want to keep that goal in mind. So when you're making that budget, first, write down all of your income. And it can be income that you bring in from work, income that you receive through different support systems. And you have to know whether or not you're getting income monthly, because as we both know, not everybody has consistent weekly, monthly, or biweekly income. So if you have consistent income, you really only have to think about a month out. If your income is inconsistent, maybe you are a gig economy worker, you might have to plan for 3 months. It's a little bit more planning, but it is still feasible.
Well, I appreciate, recognizing that really that people are at different places. And, I think that's the first time I've heard somebody actually acknowledge, like, look, sometimes people don't get a paycheck every 2 weeks.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you really need to have that income piece. And then you need to know, well, what are your required monthly bills? So step 1, income. Step 2 of that is, what are your bills? And those bills might be, say, a credit card payment, but it also might be your rent. It also might be how much money you spend on food or utilities. You need to know how much money it takes to pay for your necessities. Next step, how much money does it take to pay for the things you want? And so the things that you want and the things that you need are really based on an individual. My needs might not be the same as your needs. For example, not everybody believes they need a cell phone. I need a cell phone for work and for family. I have friends who don't need a cell phone. So your budget is based on your personal needs and wants and goals. That's really, really key there.
And if I can jump in, and so like for helping, is it helpful to just take a piece of paper and write down what you need? I mean, is it like a good idea? Needs and wants. And needs like cell phone, rent, mortgage if you're fortunate, utilities, those are the things that you have to write down.
Absolutely.
And then night out at the movies, concert, those are the wants, right?
Absolutely. And some of those wants might be things like streaming TV services. We enjoy them, we appreciate them, but there's this strategy that we encourage people to use when they're starting with a budget. It's called the 50-30-20 rule. So when you look at your needs, you should be spending no more than 50% of your income. Look at your wants, you should be spending no more than 30% of your income. And the last component is actually savings. You should be setting aside 20% of your savings. It's really hard to think about needs, wants, and savings when money is tight. But keep in mind, we know we have our needs. We need to have housing and clothing and utilities and however we pay for those things. And wants are important because if you don't have some of those things that bring joy into your life, it's really hard to stay on budget. So you need those wants for you and your family. And finally, savings is so important because when things go wrong, because they will, there are crises, there are emergencies, there are worldwide pandemics. When things go wrong, you need to have a savings in order to pull from. So you plan for the worst, hope for the best, and you always have a savings. You can start with $5, but have that plan. So, 50-30-20 rule, it's a great way to get started with that budget.
So that's amazing. And so I'm wondering, I grew up with a single parent who borrowed from Peter to pay Paul. So my ability to set a budget wasn't really the most efficient for many, many years. And what are some other obstacles or some challenges that get in the way of people even getting to the point emotionally and psychologically to set a budget? Because sometimes it's overwhelming and it's scary.
Absolutely.
And the reality is that sometimes folks are like, I don't have enough money to pay for my bills this month.
Absolutely. So there's a couple of barriers. The first barrier is our culture doesn't talk about money. Money is a taboo subject. Debt is a taboo subject. We don't talk about how much money we make, how much money we need in order to make ends meet. And sometimes it's also difficult to talk about what we need to cut out in order to make ends meet. Another thing about budgeting itself is one of the barriers is many times people think, I make a goal, I set a budget, I have to stick to that and I can't change my plan. But that's actually the third and final step of being successful in money management is revisiting your plan because nothing goes as planned. So you have to adjust it. Maybe sometimes you have a little bit more income and you need to put aside that money towards savings. Sometimes, more often, we have less than what we planned for. So you might have to reach out and figure out, how do you bring in more money? How do you utilize community services in order to support you for the time being? There are multiple strategies, and it is difficult to use those strategies by yourself. So the next thing I would say is, even though money is taboo, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable to talk with somebody, it's great to reach out to those community resources to educate yourself and to have somebody to help hold you accountable to the plan that you have set for yourself. At Nusenda, we have financial consultants. Members can come in and speak to somebody about their plan, if it's working, if it's not working well, what strategies, what products and services that they can access in order to meet those goals. But also we have some educational resources online. We have one of our partners, Bonsai, provides simulations that you can practice with budgeting before you do it in the real world. We also have little articles and interactive online calculators that can be really helpful. In fact, we have a 50-30-20 calculator. And then Balance is our other partner, and it has more articles, more podcasts. But my favorite part about Balance is you can call and get debt counseling at no cost and walk side by side with somebody who can talk to you about a way to be successful with your plan. And it's offered in multiple languages. So anyone can access this type of one-on-one financial counseling. So talk with others, be successful, and realize that it's scary and it's hard and you have to continue to do it. And we're there to support you along the way.
Well, and that's the key, is like having folks who are supportive, who won't shame you in any way whatsoever, and And so it's so glad to know that you're there with Nusenda and that you're able to do that. We've been talking with Amanda Reyes, who is the she is the Director of Financial Capability for Nusenda Credit Union, and this is part of our Nusenda Well-being financial tips. And we'll have more of those available. And Amanda, if this series is going to drop every 2 weeks, every second Monday, my apologies, of the month. And if you'd like more information on the services provided by Nusenda, like some of the ones that Amanda was talking about, you can go to nusenda.com. You can also call our local branch here at 575-523-7750, or you can go by their offices at 1750 East University Avenue. And you can also find all of our financial well-being tips at locallascruces.com/Nusenda. Amanda, thank you so much. I know I'm going to see you again, but I'm getting ready to meet one of your other colleagues, and I'm very excited about this project. And thank you so much for all your help on this.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a lovely day, and feel free to contact me if you have any additional follow-up questions or needs. I'm happy to help.
Thanks so much, Amanda. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.